Hello, my loves, and welcome back to Disgustingly Easy, the private pod for women who are in it for the long game. I'm your host, Bec Cameron, and today we are going to talk about goal setting. It's timely, right? New year, new you, yada, yada. But before you eye roll and be like, oh my God, this is not what I thought I signed up for. This is not the kind of goal setting that involves color-coded planners, New Year's delusions, telling you to lock in and be more disciplined, or pretending that motivation is easy when you're the preferred parent, co-regulating a neurodivergent household, running a business, or just trying to get by. I want to talk about goal setting through the lens of NLP and the disgustingly easy method. And one idea that completely changed how I think about capacity, potential, and what is really possible for us. So for context, I've just gotten off our first long game call of the year where we had a big conversation with the women in our group around some big ass goal setting. I want them to go big. I want them to think not what's possible, but what's fucking audacious. That one day kind of thinking. For one of our ladies, it was get fucking ripped. And for another, it was make 50K in my business. And the reason I did this was because when we're existing in a low capacity season, which many of us are, when there are multiple competing needs and high amounts of energy going into everything but ourselves, we can start to dim our expectations of ourselves and what we think is possible. However, when we start to consider what we can do, when we dream bigger, when we exist bigger, we start to make decisions to match. We want to expand our capacity. We want to eat better, move more, regulate, be more conscious, be more present. When we start to see what's possible, we start to fucking act like it's possible. And it's the whole shoot for the moon, because if you fail, you'll land amongst the stars idea, which personally I hate, because from a literal sense, the moon is within our solar system and the stars, as we know, exist outside of our solar system. So technically it's backwards, but you get my point. When you allow yourself to consider that something is possible, you start to find all the reasons all around you to justify that belief. So let me explain a concept that's going to blow your fucking mind. The map is not the territory. We never experience reality directly. We experience our perception of reality in the same way that when you look at a map, you're not seeing the terrain, you're not seeing the texture, you're not seeing the way the shadows fall, the way the light exists and dapples through the trees. You're seeing a perception that reflects the territory, but you're not actually seeing what's there. So if you consider for a moment that in every moment you're experiencing about 2 million bits of information coming at you from light, from spectrum, from frequencies, radio waves, from literal tangible things that exist within our reality, we don't actually have capacity to comprehend or compute all of that data. So our brain, more specifically our reticular activating system as a part of our brain, it filters that information down to just 7 or so bits per second. So everything you see, think, decide, aim for, rule out is filtered through that system. What you see when you look out into the world is filtered through your beliefs, your memories, decisions you made years ago, language that you've internalized, attitudes that you've inherited, or values that were rewarded or punished. Those filters decide what you notice and what you ignore and what you explain away. And then we delete, distort, and generalize. So we delete the information that doesn't match the map of reality that you have in your head. We distort the information to fit the story that you already believe, and we generalize our individual experiences into what we think are objective truths. And then we call that being realistic. But realism is not that. It's just the familiarity that we stick to, and we stick to it because it's safe. And this is why so many women in my world are aiming for goals that are well below their actual capacity. Not because they lack potential, but because they're using past evidence or previous experiences or memories to define what is possible in the future. When we're visioning, so many people get caught up in well, I tried that before. That didn't work. I always do this. My life is different. I'm not consistent. I haven't been able to do that in the past. So then I can't do that in the future. It's not inherently true. None of it is inherently true. None of it is an objective truth. There is no guarantee something will or won't work, but your brain is trying to keep you safe by playing out the familiar pattern, even if it's deeply unsatisfying. Familiarity trumps everything. Safety trumps everything. This is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about beautifully. And if you haven't heard of him, long gamers, head to the resources section of the app because I have linked a podcast interview with him in there. He's a neuroscientist whose work will change your life. He believes that the brain is wired to run programming based off a map of the past, to do what it has always done, to follow well-worn grooves. We love predictability, we love routine, we love sustainability, even when what we're doing isn't actually taking us to where we want to go. The brain would rather repeat what is familiar than risk the unknown. And that's why change feels uncomfortable before it feels aligned, but it's also why we often hold ourselves back or underestimate what is actually possible. So what if you acknowledge that the map is not the territory and what you see is not actually what's there? What you see is simply the boundary conditions created by the filters through which you experience life. What if you considered the impossible? What if you considered that you could make the impossible happen inside of a year? That's all I want for you right now. I just want you to consider it and to consider that it's possible. And of course, now is the part where you're thinking, well, if all I do is consider it, Bec, how the fuck do I make it happen? This is where the disgustingly easy method comes in. I want you to get honest with yourself and think, if that were possible, what would be one thing that I could do that would contribute to making that happen? What would be one thing, just one thing that would reinforce to me that this belief, this idea, this concept is something that I could make a reality? Because really changing your life, it's not about motivation. It's not about intensity. It's not about finding the perfect workout or diet plan. It's not about transforming your life and your habits and your butt and your body in 30 days. It's about teaching your brain that it's possible so that you stop sabotaging your progress in order to stay in familiar territory. It's about choosing something new long enough to create a new map. It's about visualizing a new map from which to work from. Just one thing. Pick just one thing, because we know from previous episodes the power of the one thing. When I built the long game, I didn't chase 10 ideas, I chose one. And I stayed with it for 1 year, not because it felt good every day, but because I decided in advance that my feelings were no longer the boss, that I wanted to prove to myself that more was possible than what I had experienced in the past. What is one thing that you could commit to for 1 year that would prove to you that something that you've dreamed of for a lifetime might just be possible? And you might commit to that one thing. You might open yourselves up to the possibility, and then 10 things, 20 things seem possible. And you commit regardless of how you feel, how motivated you are, how much evidence that your brain says that it isn't working, remembering that any of those thoughts around whether it's working or not is based off your current map of reality, not the future you're working towards. Regardless of how you feel like you're being perceived, that one thing that if you did it for a year would fundamentally change you at an identity level. It might be showing up at the gym for your strength training. It doesn't matter how much weight you lose. It might be something to do with your mindset. It might be journaling. It might be following through on a business idea, just like what I did with the long game, something that regulates your nervous system, your health. It might be just going for a fucking walk every day, not because you know it'll work or you know it'll get a certain outcome, but because you're willing to step beyond the boundary conditions of your current thinking and see what's possible. Now, in a moment, I'm going to take you through a short visualization. And if you can, I want you to take everything out of your hands, anchor yourself, close down your eyes. This is not about fantasizing or manifesting or positive thinking yourself through denial. It is about giving your nervous system and your brain a new reference point or a new map, one your brain hasn't rehearsed yet. And if it feels unfamiliar, that's kind of the point. If you feel silly, that's great. If you feel confused, that means we're exactly where we need to be. We are stepping out of the familiar and into what's possible. Now, to do this, I need you to think of your audacious goal. You can come back actually and do this anytime for any goal you have: health, finances, business, relationships, parenting, anything. But I want you to think of your audacious goal and think of a date by which you want it to occur. I suggest sticking with the one thing for 1 year idea, because that will be what is most present to you right now. What we're going to do first is get familiar with the idea of a time stream and your particular time stream. If I were to ask you in what direction the past might be for you, even if you're just guessing, even if you need to think of it for a moment, think of a time in the past or get a picture of it, could you point in the direction that the past feels like for you, which direction would you point? So for me, I imagine the past behind me. Now, if I were to ask you in which direction the future was, even if you were just guessing, in which direction would you point? For me, I imagine the future in front of me. Now, notice how having the past in one direction and the future in another direction, between those exists your time stream. You connect the 2 points to create your time stream. How do they connect for you? Is it a line, a circle? Does it pass outside of your body? Does it run through your body? Now that you have a sense of your stream of time, we're going to move into the visualization. So first, double checking that I have your permission to do this process with you and for you to have conscious awareness of it. Just give a little yes if that is the case. I want you to have your goal with your specific date in mind and the end step that you're excited to experience that is a result of you achieving that goal, that audacious goal, that crazy out there one day goal. Now, I want you to go ahead right now and I want you to step into the moment that you have achieved that goal. I want you to float down into your body so you're looking through your own eyes, experiencing everything as if you were there, hearing the sounds around you, really feeling the feelings of being right there in that moment. Go ahead and make this moment the most compelling that you can for all of your senses. I want you to notice that if the picture is black and white, I want you to make it color or turn up the color. Notice any sounds. Maybe you want to turn them up or turn them down. Same with the colors and the feelings. Turn them up or turn them down to make this the most compelling thing for you. Now, I want you to step out of the picture, but leave your body in it so you can see yourself in the image. And I want you to imagine now taking that image of you in that moment where you can see yourself experiencing the end step of the audacious goal and hold it in your hands out in front of you. We're going to breathe life and energy into this picture with 3 long, deep exhales. Looking at this picture, do it with me. Breathing in, out. And in and out. Last one, in and out. So holding that energized, alive picture in your hands, I want you to rise up above your stream of time, all the way up into the air, out of this room, above the heavens, even higher, all the way up above your personal stream of time. We're going to float out along your stream of time into the future, out to the future, to the date where you said this would occur. And I want you to go ahead and drop the picture into your stream of time on the date and watch it slot perfectly into place just like that. Now turn back and look off towards the past. Notice that everything that had to happen in order for this event to occur is now rapidly shifting and transforming unconsciously in your stream of time to support it. Everything that had to happen in order for this event to occur is now rapidly shifting and changing in your stream of time at the unconscious level to support it rapidly and unconsciously. Now turn off and look towards the future as well. I want you to notice that it's changed too. It's bigger, it's brighter, it's more compelling, more brilliant, more alive than ever, all because of this moment. This moment right here with you, right now, in this place, at this time, making this decision and putting this audacious goal into your awareness in this way. And now, knowing that this is all simply out there waiting for you, you can just float back above the now, back above the room that you're in, just allowing yourself as you do to keep the feelings inside of you of that moment having already occurred. Allow yourself to gently come back into your body. Whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. You don't need anything else in this moment. You just need the willingness to stay in the work long enough to discover what's possible. Now, If this way of thinking feels exciting, if it feels expansive, if it feels like it is just the beginning or has put you on the precipice of realizing what's actually possible for you without rushing, without chaos, grounded momentum is what we do here in the long game. And we slow down so that we can do things properly and get there faster. The slow road is the shortcut. For those in the long game, bring your reflections, bring your audacious goals to the forum. Let's talk about it. Let's open up a discussion. Let's vision. Let's start to come up with all the reasons why it's possible. And if you're not in the long game, and you want to be part of a community, part of a container where these conversations exist on a regular basis, where we are collapsing time between where you are and where you want to go, and we are slowing down so much that you get such clarity. If you want to be a part of that, then all you have to do is reach out to me in the DMs on Instagram, send me an email, get in touch. Let me know that you're ready to be a part of our community, and I will make that happen for you, because this is the work. This is where the change happens. And for everyone in long game in 2026, we are so anchored into our vision for where we're going and what we're going to create. It becomes inevitable. With that, I want to remind you that when nothing is certain, anything is possible. You've got this and I've got you. Here's to an incredible, audacious 2026.